Well, I've been thinking about what winter jobs I've got ahead of me. And of course, one that I have been talking about all year is driving a path through here. That's definitely on my agenda. It's been a real mess and it's very difficult to keep on top of. So right through there's an awful lot of soil to move, but it's a job when you can't grow stuff. It's good use of your time. So I'm going to be working on that. But we were in a reclamation yard yesterday and I couldn't help myself. I've been talking about a pond for a long time, and for £15 I thought it was a good buy, but it's going to be a fair old job. So this is a preformed pond liner and I'm hoping that it will go in there. Again, there's a fair amount of soil to come out, quite a lot of rocks which I'll probably use in the pond, but that looks like a fun project, and again a really good one for the winter. And of course the other one that I've been talking about a lot and not doing too much about, apart from collecting more and more stuff to raise the level, is this horrible mess here. And once I've got this wood out of the bags, and I think I'm going to burn it, I'm going to get all that leveled out, and that will have raised the level in this area, I think a good 5 or 6 inches, which will certainly help some of the drainage issues I get down here. There's an awful lot of tidying up to do here. And then of course over there, one of the things that I neglect all the way through the growing season is the compost area. So I need to get sorted out, get the pot sorted out, and that'll be a late autumn, early winter job. And of course for the autumn I always put new compost on top of the existing beds, and it's been cooking nicely, but it's also got covered in bindweed and brambles. So there's another autumn job to be done. You can see where the covers are over the compost, but on top of the covers it's just a jungle, and I need to cut all that back so I can get to all the goodness that's under these covers, and it should be nicely prepared now for going on the beds. But there's a good few hours of work there. But a job I'm going to do today is really a summer job, and it's definitely a little bit late. So this is a case of don't copy me really. Now, pruning of fruit trees in the summer should be done July, at the most late August, and we're into early September. But I'm gonna prune those Bramley apples, and as you can see, the shape of them is really very up and down at the moment. But I'm going to take those top level branches out and get all the trees to a similar size, and for that I'm going to be up the ladders and we'll see how we get on. Now these Bramley apples, I forget how old they are, but they've got to be 4 or 5 years old. And the last couple of years they've not fruited and they've not done very well. I've had to deal with canker and I've cut that out on a number of occasions. But this year they don't seem to have that problem, which is encouraging. And whilst I don't have any fruit, there's been a lot more foliage and good solid growth. So I'm effectively going to do a late summer prune. With a summer prune, you take down this new growth to the second bud, preferably. And if it's growth off of a summer pruning that you've done a previous year, you can go down to just one bud. But my main objective here is to get a level, and if there's any wood that's damaged, and to cut that out as well. So this first tree is going to set the level for the others, although the really big one at the back there, I think I'm going to have to just be a bit careful not to take it down too far. So this young growth is where we're headed, and down to 2 buds is where I'm going to go. And I've got some dead wood here, which I'm also going to take off. And it's best to cut to the bud with a slant so that any water runs off. Talking of water, it's coming in. I'm going to stop for a bit. Well, I think that's blown through now, so we'll get on. So just looking at the top here, need to make sure I'm stable. We've got quite a lot of dead growth or dead branches in here. We'll take those out, get these down to that 3rd bud. Another fairly bad branch there. And I'll just work my way through now, getting a level that I'm comfortable with. And as I say, this job, to be honest, is best done late July, early August. So I'm definitely late. Now, I'm really no expert when it comes to pruning apples. But I'm happier with that shape, and these trees, they're not particularly precious, they've not done a lot for me, and so I'm prepared to take risks. But if you're looking after your apple trees, then I should do just a bit of research, make sure that you're doing things at the right time and you get the best outcome. Well, that turned into more like a winter prune than a summer prune. But as I say, I'm not too precious about these trees, and I am pleased with the shape. And I think with the growth that's on there, there doesn't seem to be any canker this year. I'm really hopeful that we'll get some better shape growing going forward, and who knows, maybe even some fruit. But it's looking a little bit more controlled. So I'm happy with that. Well, note to self. Keep looking at the ground. Well, this bed has come to nothing, and while I'm a bit hot and bothered from cutting down those apple branches, I'm going to clear this bed and I'll give it a chance to rest. I don't want any more goodness to be taken out by these unproductive brassicas. So we'll get the clips off. As per usual, I'll leave the net on just to make sure the area is not used as a litter tray. But you can see these plants have just got enormous flower heads on them, and this beauty, which is a fantastic specimen, is really no good to me at all, but the chickens are going to love it. This is going to be an effort. It's a bit like catching a monster carp. And this one's going to the hens. Well, there's really not much else in here. The hens can have these too. And just one broccoli that is failing as well. And then I can clean this bed up and get it ready for winter. It's the same treatment for this bed as well. There's little point leaving brassicas in this that are using up nutrients that future plants could use. If they are not going to come to anything, they're coming out. And while I'm in here, a bit of weeding as well. Now, one of those winter jobs is getting rid of that bank, and you can see why in here. There's absolutely hundreds of small grass seedlings, and I'm going to have to get all those out now. But in the future, when that grass is gone, that won't be a task that I have to do on a constant basis. So, good times. Bit of a rake over, and this will be fine for a few more weeks. Now, these broccoli are doing really well, but one thing I do know about purple sprouting broccoli is that they get really tall, and they're one of those plants that really benefits from some support, because of course in the winter months we get a fair amount of wind, and this is quite an exposed area. So I've got a great neighbour, and he's in the plot next door, and he uses these, and he's lent me some for the period of time that these grow, which is through to about February. So I'm very grateful to him, but they're going to really help support the plant. So I'm going to put one of these in next to each plant, and I'll face these corners in. And then as the plant gets a bit bigger, so I'll use them to brace them and give them some support. And hopefully that will mean that in the winter months, they don't lean over and subsequently get damaged. And of course, the more damage they take, the less produce we get from them. So I've got 8 of these and 10 plants, but if we can support the ones on the outer edges, hopefully as I get a bit bigger, those couple that remain unsupported will get some support from the other plants. There we go, and that will make a world of difference. Well, that's me done for today. I hope your gardens have been successful this year, and as we head into autumn, you're getting the benefit of some winter vegetables very soon. And the apples, well, I've got some great apples and some disastrous ones, as you've seen, but hopefully in time they'll work out. Well, Mrs. K's been busy weeding in the flower bed, and it's certainly looking better for it. one of the jobs on my agenda is to get the seeds off of these sweet peas, but they're just not brown enough yet. And when they start to go brown, you know that the seed has got as mature inside as it's going to get. So I'm just going to wait for those to turn brown. Some of them are really well on their way. And these calendula are dropping seed everywhere. And as you can see, these heads, they're just absolutely full of seed, and I'll be gathering a lot more of that, although I'm sure there'll be plenty in the bed already. In fact, I can see some self-seeded seed actually starting to grow in there, but I'm sure that'll die back during the winter months. So the flower bed's shaping up nicely, and I noticed this morning that the squash is getting thinner and thinner in terms of foliage, and there's quite a lot of damage to these leaves as they feel the cold. Strangely, there's still one or two flowers which are trying to make their way, but I'm getting the feeling that there's not many squash in here, and it's going to be these peripheral ones that have succeeded and they got started early. But that's fine, there's good 7 or 8 of those, and to be honest, that's plenty for us. Even these smaller ones, they make a nice meal, so we'll be absolutely fine. A slightly bigger one there, and you can see the smaller ones which actually won't come to anything now. I've just noticed in there there's a green one. Let's see if we can get in. But yeah, he's quite unusual. We'll see what he turns out like. And of course the pink bananas are just getting bigger and bigger, which is great. Well, cutting the grass made a huge amount of difference. It just gives me the motivation to work on all the crops, and keeping the grass down is also much better for walking around. I'm quite interested in reducing the amount of grass over time because it is quite a big task, but it's how to turn those areas into something productive. And I'm thinking that that bed over there, which I'm wanting to change, I could make significantly bigger. And there's an awful lot of grass there, which all I do is mow it. So plans for the winter developing in my head. I've been thinking on this area quite a lot, and there's been some great suggestions from subscribers. Which reminds me, if you watch my channel, please subscribe, it really helps. And hopefully you'll get notifications of everything I upload and keep a handle on what I'm doing from one week to the next. But this area has got this mound on it, and I know what that mound is. It's just a clay soil which was put onto this area, and I'm beginning to think if I could level it off and then put a weed fabric over the top of it, I could have quite a good growing area there for something. So there's plenty of winter jobs, and even on a mature plot like this, you constantly think of how you can evolve, make things simpler for yourself, and of course grow more food and have more fun. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I'll be seeing you soon. I do hope you enjoyed the video today. If you did, click the subscribe button, click the like button, and if you want updates from me each time I upload a video, click the bell and select all. I do hope you have a great day. Diolch yn fawr.